There appears to be no end in sight for this saga between Brandon Aiyuk and the San Francisco 49ers regarding contract negotiations. I think we're all kind of waiting for a shoe to fall in order to determine what is actually going to happen here. The last week has just been filled with speculation, reports, and so many talking heads in regards to what's happening with Brandon Aiyuk, what's the reality of the situation, and where do we go from here. So I know a lot of you probably are just trying to figure out what is real, what's not real. Like, how do we go from here? Well, whether you like him or not, Adam Schefter is plugged in and he knows a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. Does that mean he's batting 1,000? No, he's not. I know 49er fans are always going to reference the Mac Jones at 3 situation, but it is what it is. You win some and you lose some. Regardless of that, obviously, Adam Schefter is tapped in to league circles. He understands what's going on behind the scenes. So when he joins the Pat McAfee show, and Pat is trying to understand or basically preface it to Adam Schefter to relay, like, what is happening here? What are some of the potential pitfalls of this situation? What are you hearing? Adam Schefter lays it out. He lays it out of what he believes is happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to let you take a listen to what Schefter has to say, and let's react to it on the other side.
Every team out there just is wondering, like, the longer this goes on, do we jump in and make a call on Brandon Aiyuk? Would they listen to our offer? New England certainly, I'm sure, would love to have a guy like Brandon Aiyuk. But again, it takes two sides to tango. You got to satisfy the 49ers if you're ever going to make a deal, and the player has to be willing to take the contract from your organization. And even though he doesn't have a no-trade clause in his contract, he has an unofficial no-trade clause, Brandon Aiyuk does right now, because if he doesn't want to go to a team, he could say, I'm not taking that contract, and then why is that team going to give up the amount of compensation it would take to go get him if they know that they can't get him under a long-term deal?
I thought you were going to say the unofficial trade clause was the fact that the Niners say we could have it for 3 more years if we want. We got 1 more year in the contract and we got 2 franchise tags. Yeah. I thought that was the unofficial no trade clause that is being held by one particular party in there.
And Judon
Brandon Aiyuk has got an unofficial no trade tag, or an unofficial no trade clause, because he has the ability to say to these teams, I'm not taking a deal if I don't want to go there. And if he's not taking the deal, then why would the team give up assets, draft capital, to go get a guy like that if he is showing or telling them
Has that happened?
he's not willing to commit there long term?
Has that happened, do you know of, or are you just saying hypothetically?
We're talking hypothetically right now.
Okay, yeah, because this has happened in the past, obviously, where teams have wanted to make a play for somebody, and then the player has said, we are not going to agree to a deal if you trade for us. So it's a waste of assets, and it's never going to happen. That has taken place in the NFL's history before. But the fact that the Niners have 3 years potentially in their eyes, and Aiyuk potentially has places he wants to go that are kind of, that potentially, I don't know if anything happens.
So the whole premise of this particular video and this segment around Brandon Aiyuk is effectively laying out the groundwork that, yes, Brandon Aiyuk can be traded. The San Francisco 49ers can pick up the phone. They can call any one of these teams or vice versa, and they can negotiate terms in the sense of we want a player and we want a pick. Okay? That's what the 49ers want in regards to value in a return on a trade for Brandon Aiyuk. But that's only one aspect of this situation. As you hear and as you know, Brandon Aiyuk is looking for a contract. He is not going to get traded to another team just to play on the 5th year. That's not going to happen. He needs a contract this year so he can play. And so that's the other kind of crazy dynamic of this whole trade scenario is Brandon Aiyuk and his representation have to go to those teams. They have to negotiate a deal that they believe is beneficial to them and that they would agree to. And then Brandon Aiyuk has to say, yes, I will sign this deal. There's a world that exists where these teams, like, the trade compensation could be figured out. The deal could be worked out. And when it comes to, all right, Brandon, it's time to bless this deal. What Adam Schefter is effectively saying is Brandon Aiyuk could just say, no, I don't want to play here. So I'm not going to sign this deal, which means you can't trade me. Because why would a team trade for a player who's not going to sign a contract with them? And well, why? So when you hear also when Adam Schefter's talking about this, he's talking about it hypothetically. And he said something that I love. That is, if you listen to people who are tapped in and plugged in, whether it's general managers, head coaches, reporters, etc., there is a very particular phrase that they use to hedge what they're saying. Like he said, hypothetically, right now, this is what the situation is. The right now part of it is always something that gets my ears perked up because we've heard all the time players say, "Oh, we want him a part of our organization," or we believe he'll be a part of our organization right now. Like right now, he's our guy. Right now, we are moving forward with this guy. The point of that and the emphasis that I'm placing on that is you can hedge against right now. Right now speaks about today. It doesn't speak about tomorrow or the day after that. And we understand this is a very fluid league. Things change in a blink of an eye. So right now, the status quo is this is hypothetical. But this could be a reality a couple days from now. Who knows? If we get a report that Brandon Aiyuk is turning down contracts and trade requests from other teams, you know, is it going to blow back on Adam Schefter? No, because he said right now it's just a hypothetical, but that doesn't mean that's protecting it from just being a hypothetical 2 days from now. So that's just an interesting part of the language that Adam Schefter used. You might be like, all right, Brad, you're reaching on this one, and that's fine if you kind of believe that. But whether I look at it in a situation of I've been listening to these guys talk for so long that is you pick up on these little tendencies, and so it's something that stood out to me. And if that is the case, and Brandon Ayuk, like let's say the hot rumor right now is, oh, the Cleveland Browns want to trade for Brandon Ayuk. You had Jerry Judy talking about Brandon Ayuk getting traded to them. You have their reporters talking about what a deal would look like. Amari Cooper for Brandon Ayuk. So that sound like it's still smoke season apparently, even though we're into training camp. I thought smoke season was only for the middle of the off season in the summer, but apparently the smoke is still lingering. So there's a lot of ties showing that hey, BA and the Browns and the 49ers could potentially work out a deal. There's a compensation for a player in return, a deal from a contractual standpoint the Browns are willing to pay. And what's left? I think what Adam Schefter is alluding to is that what's left is for Brandon Aiyuk to agree and sign it and say yes and sign off to it. So if Brandon Aiyuk isn't doing that, what does that mean? My interpretation of this whole situation is I don't think Brandon Aiyuk wants to get traded. I think Brandon Aiyuk wants to be a San Francisco 49er. I think that's what Brandon Aiyuk has wanted the whole time. I understand some of the social media stuff and it might have signaled a different kind of response or signaled a different notion from Brandon. But I think that's all leverage that he was using at the end of the day. I think really what Brandon Ayuk wants is he wants to stay here. His home is here. His family's here. He's he's from this area. He's a West Coast kid. You know, went to Sierra College in Rockland, California. This is where he's like from. So I don't think Brandon Ayuk really wants to go anywhere. I just think he wants to get paid by the San Francisco 49ers. And so I just think we're in a situation where I don't know. I don't know, man. It's been a long summer. It's been a long summer of this. And it's clearly heating up. Schefter's talking about it, Mayoko's talking about it. Trusted people, again, regardless if they're right 100% of the time, they're trusted and they're reputable and they're good at what they do. And it just makes you wonder what is going to happen next. So I'm going to pose that question to you. What do you think happens next? What do you think is the next evolution in this situation? Is there any hope that the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk can reconcile and come together on agreement and just get it done and move forward? Because I'm of the mindset that even if the 49ers were take an L from a front office standpoint by having to pay the market value for Brandon Ayuk, in my opinion, you're still kind of winning on the field because you're getting a elite player back into your locker room, back onto the field, back with your quarterback, back into this offense. And yes, there might be some contractual or cap ramifications that come from this, which I understand is probably a part of the 49ers issues that they're having with this, but I'm thinking more, what's the ultimate goal here? Isn't the ultimate goal to win a Super Bowl this year? And if that is the ultimate goal, isn't Brandon Ayuk your best bet at ensuring that happens, that he is on this team? I understand it might be expensive, and I understand you've got to pay Trent Williams, and I understand Brock Purdy's down the line with Lenore, and like yes, there's things to keep in mind. You can't just be throwing out contracts. I get that. But I'm just like, again, it's where's the balance come from? Where's the balance? You know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So you tell me in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.